Maya Harrington hated blind dates. She hated the awkward smiles, the forced conversations, the feeling of being examined like a resume instead of a woman who had lived, hurt, loved, and carried burdens no one could see. But tonight was different. Tonight she didn't have the luxury of thinking about her own comfort. Her 7-year-old son, Leo, lay in his wheelchair beside her, quiet, tired, and watching the restaurant door with wide, nervous eyes. He hadn't spoken much all day. He rarely did anymore. The accident had taken more than the strength of his legs. It had stolen the spark he once carried in his eyes, the spark Maya had spent every day trying to revive. But she was a CEO and a mother, and broken in ways she rarely admitted. And her mother, persistent as ever, had arranged this blind date as though a dinner with a stranger could fix their lives. "You don't have to stay the whole time," she whispered to Leo, brushing his soft brown hair back. "Just until we see what kind of man he is. If he's uncomfortable, we'll leave. I promise." Leo nodded faintly, pushing his small sketchbook deeper into his lap. The maitre d' looked at her with pity as he escorted them toward a quiet booth. People always did. Most didn't know how to hide it. Maya lifted her chin, rolled Leo's wheelchair forward, and prepared herself for disappointment. The man was already seated. And he was nothing like she expected. Tall, broad-shouldered, with dark stubble and tired blue eyes that spoke of long nights, lost things, and work-worn hands. He rose immediately when he saw them, his chair sliding back loudly. But he didn't stare at her. He stared at Leo. And then, unlike every other man she had met, he lowered himself down to Leo's eye level. "Hey, buddy," he said quietly, "I'm Ethan." Leo blinked, surprised. His fingers tightened around his sketchbook. Most men avoided looking at him. Most acted nervous or uncomfortable or overly sweet in a way that felt fake. But this man, he genuinely saw him. Maya felt her chest tighten, an instinctive, protective ache that came from too many disappointments. "You didn't tell me," Ethan said gently, glancing at her as he crouched, "that I'd be meeting the most important man in your life tonight." There was no mockery, no hesitation. Just sincerity. And something else she wasn't ready to name. Leo stared at him for several seconds, his lips parted slightly, before he whispered, "Hi." The first word he'd spoken all day. Maya's hand trembled. Ethan stood, but slowly, carefully, as though rising too fast might scare them away. "Should we sit?" he asked. And for the first time in a long, terrible year, Maya felt something softly cracking open inside her. Hope. They ordered food. Leo drew in his sketchbook. Ethan watched him without starring, noticed without pitying, and when Leo's pencil fell from his hand, Ethan caught it instinctively. "You like to draw?" Ethan asked. Leo nodded. "Me too," Ethan said. "Well, not on paper. I build things, fix things, but I like creating things with my hands." Maya tilted her head. "What do you do?" "I'm a carpenter," he said simply. "Mostly custom furniture, barns, cabins, things people want built with heart." It fit him. The rough hands, the quiet strength, the warmth that peeked out when he thought no one was watching. She found herself smiling, really smiling. The first course arrived. Leo barely touched his food. He never ate much at dinners like this. But Ethan didn't try to force conversation. He didn't talk to impress her. He didn't ask about stocks, mergers, the company her family had built. Instead, he leaned forward and said, "Can I tell you something? Something personal?" Maya blinked. "Yes." "I'm nervous as hell," he said, laughing under his breath. "Haven't been on a date in years, and when I saw you walk in and then I saw your son, something clicked in me. Like, this matters, you matter, he matters. I didn't expect to feel that." Her breath caught. "Why?" she whispered. Ethan looked at Leo again, longer this time. "Because I used to be him," he said quietly. "Not physically, but after my wife died I stopped speaking, stopped moving. Couldn't breathe without feeling like someone had cut the air out of me. and people stared, or they avoided me, or they said the wrong things. So I know what it feels like to be hurting so much the world feels like it's passing by without you." Maya stared at him. He wasn't performing. He wasn't trying to score sympathy points. He was telling the truth. And when Leo lifted his eyes, meeting Ethan's gaze, Maya knew something was happening between them that no amount of planning could have created. Connection. A fragile one, but real. After dinner, Ethan asked if he could help push Leo's wheelchair to the car. Maya hesitated. Men often offered help out of obligation, or condescension or pity. But Ethan, he asked as though helping was the most natural thing in the world. "You can," she said softly, "thank you." Outside, the winter air was sharp. Leo shivered. Ethan removed his jacket, not even thinking, and wrapped it around the small boy's shoulders. Maya's throat tightened again. "Why are you so kind?" she whispered. Ethan looked at her with a softness she didn't expect. "Because someone once told me the only way to survive a broken heart is to help someone else heal theirs." She didn't realize she was crying until he wiped a tear from her cheek. They stood like that, two adults, one child, under the glow of the streetlight, each holding pain they rarely shared. "What if," Ethan said quietly, his breath misting the cold air, "we try again? Not a date, just a day, all three of us, somewhere peaceful, somewhere Leo can smile." Maya nodded, she couldn't speak. And Leo whispered, "I want that." 3 days later, they met at a quiet lakeside trail. The sky was gray, the air crisp, but Ethan arrived with a backpack full of snacks, a small blanket, and a custom wooden tray he'd made overnight to fit Leo's wheelchair so he could draw comfortably. Leo stared at it, touched it, ran his fingers along the carved edges. "You made this for me?" he asked softly. "For you," Ethan whispered. And something broke open inside the boy. A spark. They spent the afternoon throwing pebbles into the lake, sketching trees, talking about birds. Ethan told stories, funny ones, dramatic ones, and for the first time in nearly a year. Leo laughed. It wasn't loud. It wasn't long. But it was real. And Maya felt her legs weaken as she leaned against a tree and cried silently. Ethan noticed her, walked to her, rested a hand on her shoulder. "You're doing an amazing job," he said. "He's alive because of you. He's fighting because of you." "No," she whispered. "He's smiling because of you." Ethan shook his head. "Because of us." They stayed until the sun dipped low. Leo fell asleep in his chair. Maya covered him with the blanket. And Ethan said quietly, "Maya, there's something I need to tell you." Her heart stilled. "I didn't come tonight to fall in love," he said, voice trembling. "But I think I'm starting to, with you and with him, and if that's too much." She stepped closer. "It's not," she whispered. "It's not too much." He exhaled shakily. "I don't want to hurt either of you," he said. "But I want to try. I want to be someone you both can trust." She looked at him, this man who had entered her life like warmth breaking into winter. And she said, "Then don't walk away." He didn't. They didn't rush. Didn't label it. Didn't pressure Leo. But slowly, over weeks, then months, Ethan became something Maya never thought she would have again. A partner. A safe place. A steady presence. A father figure Leo began to whisper stories to, draw pictures for, and smile at when he thought no one was watching. And the night Leo called Ethan Dad, quietly, shyly, Ethan cried harder than Maya had ever seen a man cry. But the greatest shock came later. When doctors told them Leo's recovery progress had accelerated dramatically. His muscles were waking up. His voice was strengthening. Physical therapy sessions were suddenly effective in ways they hadn't been before. And the therapist said something Maya never forgot. Sometimes children need a reason to try again. Maya held Leo, held Ethan, and whispered, "We've found our reason." In the end, the blind date her mother pushed her into brought her the man she never knew she deserved, gave her son the father he didn't know he needed, and gave all three of them something they thought they had lost forever: a future, a family, a home